water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him the most, he vanished. 100 years passed and my brother and I discovered the new Avatar, an airbender named Aang. And although his airbending skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Aang can save the world. Hi, this is Lulu with Utter Randomness, and thank you for listening to my podcast. And today on a Flashback Friday, we are traveling to Avatar and the Last Airbender. So this Flashback Friday, we are jumping to 2005, and Avatar was released in February, which means it just passed its 15th anniversary. That's awesome, especially considering the recent resurgence in popularity. And there are a few reasons for this comeback, and we'll cover all of that in this podcast. However, before we go any further, there will be massive spoilers of all 3 seasons. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's currently on Netflix, and I even believe Hulu, and it's only 64 episodes long for 3 seasons. So go ahead and hop on and go watch them before you continue this podcast, because we are spoiling things. So moving on, spoilers everywhere. Avatar: The Last Airbender revolves around a handful of protagonists and antagonists, and just to name a few, there's Aang, Katara, Sokka, Prince Zuko, Appa and Momo, Uncle Iroh, Fire Lord Ozai, Princess Azula, Admiral Zhao, Suki, King Bumi, Princess Yue, Jet, and Avatar Roku. And those are just to name a few. And let me say this before we go any further. Avatar: The Last Airbender is definitely worth your time. Definitely still worth your time, even today. And it's such a great show. Not even for a children's show, but even an adult show. If you enjoy anime and manga style animations, this goes down that realm. Konizeku drew much of their inspiration from Asian art, history, animation styles from animes like Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, which I have not watched in so long, and their religion, drawing from the teachings of Taoism and Buddhism to shape the character's personality and even their bending styles. So on the subject of bending, this is what makes the battles and fighting incredibly beautiful and jaw-dropping to watch. Each bending style is based off a martial art fighting style. So it's Bagua for airbending, Hungar for earthbending, Northern Shaolin for firebending, and Tai Chi for waterbending. And in my opinion, it's those inspirations that make the fighting so different and unique to this show. The bending types are also influence the personality traits that the characters have. So for example, waterbending, once again, is based off Tai Chi. Tai Chi is an internal fighting style that typically focuses on the control of energy. It can be characterized as very soft, even gentle, and follows the natural flow of energy within a person. This fits waterbending Katara, who's very gentle and understanding, yet once she masters waterbending, she becomes a focused and devastating force of nature. Katara is also a healer, which also follows Tai Chi because it is said that Tai Chi has healing benefits. This is because Tai Chi focuses on developing and balancing one's chi. You'll also get glimpses of lightning bending or the redirection of lightning. Both of these have foundations in waterbending, but it's only a form that firebenders can accomplish. Avatar: The Last Bender is binge-worthy. It is a melting pot of incredible storylines, complex yet lovable and maybe hateable characters, beautiful animations, and the soundtrack is just gorgeous, all of which still hold up after 15 years. It also has an attention-grabbing action and fights because it's based off real forms of martial arts, and it's well choreographed and drawn, as I mentioned before. The show tackles a lot of heavy topics too, like war, genocide, life, death, disabilities, love, responsibilities, jealousy, depression, anxiety, and even the consequences of mistakes and the journey to redemption. While none of these topics are terribly uncommon for shows directed towards children, what is, though, is how Avatar handles these topics. It handles these immensely heavy topics with grace and thought, because Avatar at its core is completely and irrevocably human, and the stakes are real. Things like death are always on the table and no one comes back. should they happen to die. It is permanent. Aang struggles for this 3 seasons with the complexities of potentially killing another, which is Fire Lord Ozai. They also make villainy, as we speak about Fire Lord ever so briefly, tangible, as in it's never simple and seldom falls flat. That leads us to our next talking point, villains. Now, when you're talking about the bads in Avatar: The Last Airbender, you're probably familiar with characters that may pop into your brain as like Prince Zuko, Princess Azula, or even Fire Lord Ozai. However, Avatar is littered with great love to hate baddies, and only a few get a redemption arc like Zuko. Amro Zhao, who was the first season's antagonist, and that was along with Prince Zuko, but unlike Zuko, Zhao was willing to go further, even further. Amro Zhao actually ends up killing the moon spirit in season 1's finale, The Siege of the North, part 1 and 2. Princess Yue, which, fun fact, Yue means moon in Chinese, sacrifices herself to save the moon because it was the moon that gave her life. Jet is another antagonist that you meet in season 1, episode Jet. Jet and his freedom fighters are known vigilantes that have a deep-seated hatred for the Fire Nation. This is because Jet's family was killed by Fire Nation soldiers called the Rough Rhinos. He ends up going to extreme lengths to exact his revenge on a small Fire Nation-occupied Earth Kingdom village. Sokka is able to save the village, yay Sokka, and Team Avatar shows up just in time to show Jet the error in his ways and succeeds. Jet ends up disbanding the freedom fighters and hence to Ba Sing Se with Smellerbee and Longshot. Unfortunately, he runs into the Da Li and Long Fei, Earth Kingdom's operatives and soldiers, and a operator of a brainwashing program called Lek Lao Gai is arrested and brainwashed into submission. Jet has a small redemption arc when he sacrificed himself so that Team Avatar could escape with Appa, their flying bison. Hama, a woman caught by the Fire Nation, she's probably the only villain that kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. She teaches Katara water bending techniques as well as a specific style called blood bending. Hama forces Katara to learn this technique, which she successfully uses on Hama during a fight. Last, but certainly not least, is Fire Lord Zozin, who I guess you could say is the originator of the 100-Year War, and subsequently, the following generations deal with Zozins and their own unquenchable thirst for power and world domination. Another reason for the flare in popularity for Avatar: The Last Airbender is because in September 2018, Netflix obtained the rights to make a live-action Avatar. Unfortunately, there has been little in the way of information, news, and updates about the series. I do hope personally to see something more about this, but I know that in August 2020, The Legend of Korra, the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, has also made an appearance on Netflix. And since then, originally the creators and designers were a part of the live action, but have unfortunately split ways recently due to creative differences. So this has unfortunately deflated the hopes and dreams of Avatar: The Last Airbender fans, because the reason they were so on board with the Netflix adaptation was because the original creators were also on board. So I guess we'll see more down the future. We haven't seen much. We've seen some screenshots and some other information, but really it's just been crumble after crumble, bit after bit, nothing too tangible or nothing that could be I guess thoughts of theorization of what and where the show is heading. So I guess we'll find out in the future. But before I stop, what are your thoughts on Avatar: The Airbender? Did you watch it as a kid? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you wish there was something more with it? Do you wish it had more seasons? It obviously has some spin-offs for comic books. So comic books and manga, where it explains a lot of missing story and plot lines from the series. The Legend of Korra, like I said, is the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I think they did everything right with that as well. I guess we'll cover that in another topic. But what are your thoughts? Consider supporting this blog before we end it. So you can buy me a coffee or go to my Patreon page or support me right here on Anchor. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.